All right, we are back with another episode of the Fuel or Crutch podcast. Today is very, very impromptu just because Madison got hit with or the state of Wisconsin pretty much got hit with a snowstorm. Most of the state is pretty shut down. Everybody's at home working from home. And so I'm taking my lunch break to just come have a conversation, have a little fun while we're at it, and just some shared stories from different people. Bear with me, bear with us, and hopefully you guys are interactive and got some things to say. And so, like always, we'll kick the intro and get it going. All right, back with another episode. We've got a very special guest, one of three. We've got Karen. Karen, how you doing?
Good. Thanks for having me, Jamal.
No problem. I appreciate you reaching out and saying that you would enjoy doing this. So I think this is going to be fun. I think this would be an opportunity for some people to get to know you and the things that you do and your journey. So why don't you go ahead and do an introduction of yourself?
Yes. Hi. My name is Karen Garcia, and I have been in the Madison area for over 20 years. So, yes, I am involved in my community. I grew up on the northeast side of Madison, went to school in Milwaukee, but ultimately decided to settle back here in the area. So.
All right. And so what is it that you do for a living?
Yes, I am an intellectual property paralegal. So that's what I do full time for my employment.
So anybody that has intellectual property that needs to be protected, we've got your girl right there. Karen will connect you and help you in any way possible, because that's huge. Intellectual property needs to be protected because there are a lot of thieves in the world. People like to steal ideas. Cat Williams talked about it recently. People like to steal jokes. So that's just the start of it. So it goes to a much broader sense. But so where are you originally from?
I am from Colombia. I'm from Cali, Colombia. So
you
very much warmer weather. There is no snow there. So I am definitely missing it today.
Yeah. So I saw how you just dropped the accent. You started you hit me with the accent. It's in there. So at what age did you come here?
Yes, I actually came to the U.S. when I was 10 years old. So my dad and his family, my grandparents had actually already came to the U.S. in the 70s, I believe. And then they brought their kids over, and my dad brought me when I was 10. But my mom remained in Colombia. So talk about, making a sacrifice for your child to go live somewhere else. And we did not reunite again until about 12 years later. So I did get to go and visit her once or twice, but I didn't actually get to live with her.
Gotcha. How's that as an adjustment going from Colombia to United States?
Well, I always knew there was a reason. My mom, although we didn't have much, she communicated very well with me the reason why I was coming here, which was to have a better life. So I always took everything as an opportunity to me. So I was very grateful. It was sad at the beginning, but I eventually adjusted pretty good.
But just thinking about that mindset in general, two things you said. You kept having that conversation about the why, your specific why, and then just that positive mindset for for sounds like basically taking what somebody else could perceive as a terrible situation. You found a way to make it a positive one, which now makes sense why the connection when I first started with like Fuel or Crutch registered. So
Yes.
you want to just talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, for sure. So I think sometimes I think if you haven't experienced anything other than, for example, when I was in Colombia, I did not have indoor water, plumbing, or indoor bathroom. So when I came to the US, and first of all, when my dad was homeless at one point, because my dad was a single dad, so he did not qualify for shelters here as a father. So I would like to repeat this, there are single fathers taking care of their kids, and we should offer the same equal services as we do to mothers. So making sure that we have shelters available for fathers to take their kids. So I would love to see more in that area. But we were so lucky that we did get placed in, we did receive a hotel voucher. And so to me, that was luxury, right? Even though it was provided by a shelter, or maybe to other people, it wasn't the nicest hotel. To me, it was. Just for the fact that there was an indoor bathroom. That to me was a luxury. And also then moving on to living in low income housing, I just felt so blessed. So I just looked at things differently. I was happy. And even though my dad struggled, we found ways, like the pantries, like getting creative on what to make, going to the Luke House to go eat. That was just like people cook for you and serve you. It was just so awesome. It's just to me, like as a child and having that connection of those opportunities I felt pretty lucky.
So share with the quote you gave me, because I loved it.
Yes, some people might not understand it, but I always say that I upgraded from misery to poverty. And the reason that started was because one time I asked my mom, as an adult, I just said, Mom, were we poor when we were little? When I was little, was I poor? And my mother said, no, honey, we were not poor. We lived in misery. Remember that. So being in the US and what they consider poverty was an upgrade. I upgraded from not having a bathroom indoors. I upgraded from not having electricity. I upgraded from so many things. So really changing that viewpoint. And even becoming a teen mom. So I did go to East High School. I always joke too, I was a great kid. I really was. And I think, remember, when we're dealing with our kids in our community that are going through things, I think I was a good kid. The worst thing I did is I got knocked up. All right. I had a kid. So other than that, I considered myself a pretty good kid. So just, if you look at our kids in that way, I think you'll respect them more. You'll say, you know what, this is really a good kid. And they just did this one thing, or they just did that, and they deserve not to be counted off as like they're not going to be anything.
Giving them some grace. They're kids. Kids kids have things happen.
Yes.
And we've just got to coach them and teach them how to respond when things happen.
Yes.
So do you give back in any way to people that might have had similar upbringings or backgrounds, or something that kind of mirrored what you've experienced?
Yes, definitely. I do. I do volunteer my time actually in interpreting services here locally, and I'm constantly like reaching out to different people for mentoring them, right, to kind of see where they are in their journey. Another part that's also, when we're talking about the kids, I want to go back to, the opportunity of, I chose to go into a foster home when I was 17, and my dad was incarcerated again. And I already had my daughter. So I know a lot of times where we look at, things that are set up by our system to help us. And I get it. They don't always work out the way they should. But there's sometimes that they do, and we should always, instead of looking at it as a like possibly negative thing, I looked at my foster parents as an opportunity to have that parenting that maybe I hadn't had in a while. and providing me with some consistency. So although I could have stayed living on my own in like low income housing, which was great, I needed the support. So just because you have your own house or your car or whatever, doesn't always mean that you have everything you need. Sometimes you do need somebody that is kind of, guiding you. And that's why I chose to go into a foster home. So having our youth think of things, how can we make these and take this as an opportunity and navigate it for, what the positive thing that it could be.
I think words are powerful, and so that's why I really wanted to get different people's on, just to get their different perspectives so they can speak to it, because so many people are going through some of the same things that we've experienced or have gone through, but don't feel that they are ever going to overcome or change their situation. And so without being able to, for them to see yes, I was this, or I came from this, or I experienced this, and I came to become X, Y, and Z, versus either or, and you don't see the journey in between.
Yes. Yeah. Another thing like recently that I've been noticing, obviously I had my kids pretty young. And just seeing how I'm able to relate to people that are just having their kids now, right? Because I've been a working mother all my working life, essentially, right? I had my daughter when I was 16, and I've always worked. I've always had to juggle many things. You know, going to college, working, navigating through the immigration system to get my mom and my sister and my nephew here. And so now I feel like we can all connect at different points in our lives. So though we might not have lived the same experiences at some point, for example, now I can relate to somebody my age that's just having their kid that's in the workforce, right? They're just experiencing that motherhood and career at the same time, where I've been dealing with it my whole entire adulthood and before. It's, even I remember being at East High School and they wanted to send me to, where they send the other ladies that were pregnant to go to school. And I even negotiated staying in that school. I said, how much time do I have off from school without being in, truant or whatever. And I took exactly those amount of days and I came back to school. So I think from really early on, I learned how to negotiate for myself and where I wanted to be. And I wanted to stay in that school. And that's how I made it happen.
So how do we teach our youth to that level of self-advocacy, or how do we build up that level of confidence or self-esteem to even put themselves in a position like that? Because I definitely feel like that piece of self-advocacy is lacking, and it could be this group of children that we're dealing with just because they suffered and struggled through the pandemic.
Yeah, I do think that pandemic has made a big difference, but I've always been a pretty outspoken person. And I think really it's just, I think as adults, it doesn't matter if it's your kid or not. I'm around kids all the time that are very shy and don't talk, but I encourage them, to tell me how was your day or this or that, especially as I think we have, we need to think of our kids. Here's my saying, right? We have so many youth. I think we need to stop blaming the kids and we start claiming the kids. I want to claim every child that I come across as somebody that I can make, an impact on, even if it is for a conversation or two, instead of, blaming the kids for, everything that's going on in their lives. So
I appreciate you just coming on and sharing this. But what my favorite question that I ask everybody is, if you could go back in time, or if you could tell someone young now, what is some advice that you would tell your younger self, or somebody young now that has aspirations or just doesn't see a way out of their situation?
I would just say dream big. Just just dream big. I mean, I am where I am today, but I've always been a big planner, right? Like just getting my thoughts out and writing things down, and just knowing that your world, you only see so much of it, right? Like I just can't imagine like my mom not letting me come here because she was afraid, right? Like she took a big chance, and it definitely changed everything. Not being, just thinking about how to take like the what I said about the foster care system, right? How do you take it so that it does work to your benefit, right? When I was in college, I did summer classes, I did winter courses. So just being really creative about how you're going to work around things. And my mom wasn't here. My dad was incarcerated. I was living in, I mean, once a year I would have to go find somebody to live with because he would not be around. So I had to adapt to living in different people's homes. And that taught me a lot about respecting other people and just how to communicate. So that's a really big part of it.
Well, I appreciate you taking some time to come on here and share some words of wisdoms and share your story and experience. I don't know how many people actually knew, but I'm glad that somebody's gonna gain something from what you shared. And so I super appreciate it, and I'll be in contact with you soon. All right.
Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of the day. And if you need
No
something to
problem.
do, come shovel my snow.
If somebody needs something to do, go get a workout in. Karen is definitely willing to have somebody shovel her snow. All right, thank you. Have a good one.
You too. Thanks. Bye.
All right, we've got another guest that is ready to come on. We're gonna go Araceli just because she's got a very small window of time, and so we'll have Araceli jump on. Araceli, how are you?
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. How are you?
I'm doing good, thank you. Also watching people shoveling snow.
Oh, so you're watching them shovel snow. You're not getting
Yeah,
out there?
we have a snowblower
Oh,
because we have a quarter lot, so there's a lot. There's a lot. I'll get there later.
all right. Well, I know you've got a small window, so let's just jump right into it.
Right.
So, please go ahead and do an introduction of yourself.
So my name is Araceli Esparza. I'm a Chicana poet, speaker, influencer, author, award-winning producer, or something of that sort. I won an award for a PBS special I did called Las Chicas y los Chicos de Blossom Street. And it's about like 4.5 minutes long. You can Google it if you want to. It was produced by Wisconsin PBS, and it's about a real street here in Wisconsin. And actually, Oscar Mireles like chose my poem many years ago, and from that, it like started this whole like little vignette story about this girl, and she goes in her neighborhood and she's taking pictures. She's like documenting her neighborhood, and it talks about being, coming from migrant workers and like coming from a migrant worker family situation. So what is a migrant worker? It's like people who come up from Mexico or other countries to work in agricultural fields. I'm just giving that background because it sounds like you have a very young audience that may not
I've
know.
got the full spectrum. I got the full
Right,
spectrum.
right. And so my grandparents and my mother picked food all the way since the early 1900s. And we settled here in Wisconsin, specifically in the 70s as well. So yeah, kind of come up through like a farmer's, like kind of like through that farming angle of life. And then years later, I decided to write this story, and Oscar picked it out. And then PBS like contacted me, and they were like, "Hey, I want this." It was part of the Bus Lines poetry competition they have every year. So what other things do I do? I'm also the founder of an organization called Midwest Mujeres, and we empower brown, Latina, and Black women to take the stage every year, kind of like a moth setting, like a story slam.
Yeah. Oh, nice. All right. Well, Was that your dream job, or as a kid, was that your dream career of choice? There we go.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sure. No, I didn't even know what a nonprofit was growing up. Uh, let's just say, what was my dream route? Okay, so probably being a lawyer. So my undergrad is in criminology. And yeah, that was my dream job, was to be a lawyer. I wanted to be a fancy lawyer that shows up on TV and stuff. Like I really was like all about that life. I really thought that being a lawyer was like the
She
epitome
froze.
of.
I'm sure she's coming back. You froze. You got to say that again.
So I wanted to be a lawyer.
Okay.
And I would watch lawyers on TV and movies, and I was just into it. I just really thought it was the epitome of careers out there. So, first gen, doctor, lawyer. It's kind of typical.
Fair enough. That first gen is a real thing. So after matter of fact, how was navigating undergrad as a first gen?
Ooh, but I knew that it meant that I would be different. Like I knew, like the moment I was like the first semester, even I just knew I was going to be different than my family, and that part hurt me. Is she a lawyer now? I'm not a lawyer now. I'm a founder of an organization. I'm sorry, I'm looking at your chat too.
Oh no,
But
that's fine. I'm pulling it up too. Go for it.
Yeah. But I do feel that a lot of what I do wouldn't have been what I wanted to do had I not looked on other people to want to do that. So it wasn't a bad thing to want to be a lawyer or to want to be a doctor, because it helped me go into criminology. And I learned about like recidivism. I learned about manifest destiny, and those terms are super important as a first gen, because you're breaking all those chains of manifest destiny. You're breaking those chains of becoming the stereotypes that they want us to become, and you understand and learn why you grew up in poverty and crime. My stepfather was a gangster, he really, but yeah, like he was into selling drugs. I mean, he had a restaurant as a front stage. He had a restaurant as like fronting a business. I mean, the man who did it all, and he was very what you would call multicultural. Like he was a consultant to so many different people. He maneuvered as an immigrant in this area like nobody else's business. It was interesting to grow up in a lifestyle like that, but also being protected by that lifestyle. So a lot of people see that lifestyle and they're like, they put it down, but honestly, it did offer my mother and myself a level of protection that we needed at times. And but honestly, it also gave us isolation too, right? So it was both sides of it. And being a first gen in the 90s, oh my gosh. I mean, I was always protesting, making sure that they wouldn't take away the funding that we already had to explain to people why criminology and Chicano studies was like an important intersection, learning, just having to maneuver just the English language, right? Like I had dyslexia. I had a learning disability, reading disability that was underdiagnosed. Actually, I didn't honor that disability until my daughter, like literally close to 30 years later, I have a kid and she has dyslexia. And I'm like, that's why those letters always wiggle. Isn't that why I always get the I and the E mixed up? Oh, that's why I get the B and the P. Oh, that's why I forget the connecting verb all the time. That's why I have dyslexia. I must have a form of dyslexia. And I never knew that. So like I pushed my ass through college, forcing myself to I would just I read this way with my finger. I have always read that way. I have to read that way in order for it to sink in. I have to draw about my reading. I have to journal after I read so that I can digest what I've read. So I was doing double duty of work a lot of times just to get my butt. I went to college basically to escape the gangster life that I was having at home. So that was my only way out, was going to college. And that was my, I've said, hey, they're giving me free money. Okay, it's not free, but we'll talk about that free money later, right? Because it's not free, but it's obviously still coming to me at a price. But needless to say, at least it's it's paid its way. I mean, I've been married and educated, and I always tell people, you know what, I'm still married and I'm still educated, but out of the two, I have to say being educated has given me so many doors and so much self-joy and confidence that it would have hindered me in my marriage had I not had my education. Absolutely.
Oh, she's speaking a whole new language now. She's talking to you folks that are out there married and the ones that have desires to end up married. Go ahead and get educated.
Absolutely. Go get committed to an education and then come and show me what it means to be committed to a person with all of their faults. Oh, absolutely. I've been married for like 16 years, so I have a little bit of thing to say about it. We've been homeless through all of that. Oh, for sure. We were homeless even for 2 years during that marriage. You know, we've had a kid, a blended family, all the works. You know what I'm saying? Immigration. He was undocumented. Came over. You know, and it's been a struggle. It's been a journey though too. And had I not had my undergrad, I never would have understood what I know now about being committed to someone. Yeah.
So I also wanted just to say, one, thank you for sharing this, because you know we're learning stories of people and their levels of perseverance and resilience, and the way they hold themselves accountable through all of this, and how self-reflection is helpful to create awareness. So of course, like I said before, my favorite question is, what would you tell your younger self?
Oh my gosh. Don't compare yourself with other people so much. Honey, love you. Love you. That's what I would tell my younger self is love you. You are beautiful. Doesn't matter if you're pudgy. Doesn't matter if you speak funny. It doesn't matter. Like, you have so much there. And it's okay if you're a single mom. It's okay. You still worthy of so much. You're still worthy of so much. Because I had my son my last year in college, and I ended up having Quote, my baby, and then I went back to school and finished that last year. But I think I could have just like pretended I had a degree. I could have walked away from it, but I forced myself as a single mom to go back to Minnesota because I went to U of M, Twin Cities. And we didn't have virtual distance.
You got to be careful when you say U of M, because University of Michigan is representing right now as the national championship. So I've always been a big Blue fan. So, but no, I super appreciate you taking time to come on and do this. But I also want to thank everybody that's tuned in, listening. Shane, I appreciate your comments as well.
Yes.
Mr. Hello World himself, Patrick Jackson, his little brother. So thank you guys.
Yes.
So I know you've got to run. So
I do, but I do want to talk about this Melvin person. He was like about TikTok. You know, I would just say don't take it to heart, right? The kids are watching TikTok. It's a YouTube. It's like a mini YouTube channel for them, right? And it's also something that they get, you know, in between all those like swishes, they're getting to know the social justice of this world, what's happening in Palestine, the Gaza Strip, all of that kind of stuff. Depending on who they're, following, you know, you can tell them, hey, follow this person. They might go look at a video or two. Don't get so down on TikTok. TikTok's still growing, and she's trying to show us something, who she is and stuff. But when we compare ourselves to other people, Melvin says there, we learn from each other. And I would say, yeah, we do. But the problem here is about comparison is that oftentimes we're comparing ourselves to the American white standard. We don't have enough reflections of what a Latina should look like, or what success looks like through a brown and black lens. Y esa es la problema. And that's the problem. And with that, that's all I have to say. And True, thank you, Melvin, for saying the True at the end. And we'll talk soon. This has been so awesome. I've been wanting to hang out with you for a long time, Eugene. So
I'm not Eugene, but I know what you're talking about. But no, I appreciate it. So thank you, and we can always figure out a time to do this on
Jamal.
a longer.
Sorry, Jamal.
You're good. So we can figure out how to do this on a longer scale if that's something you're interested in. I've got some stuff that I'm working on behind the scenes too, so I think this would be good for us. So
awesome.
Super appreciate your time, and have a good rest of your snow day.
Likewise. See you, Jamal. Bye. Yeah.
All right, I've got one more special guest coming on. I think this one will be a little more fun for my sports people. I do feel like Karen and Araceli were super informative and super cool. I think those are messages that needed to be said. And I finally got some brown representation on my podcast. So without further ado, I've got my one last guest for today, Mr. Alvin Gaddis. Mr. Gaddis, go ahead and turn around, sir. He probably got me on mute, so I have no clue. He was waiting and ready, and now he's busy. If anybody has his phone number, please give him a call. I'm going to see if I can't give him a call. Come on, Alvin. We on. All right. Sometimes you just got to reach out and make the phone call. Mr. Alvin Gaddis, how you doing, sir? I can't hear you. Nope. I can see you. I can't hear you. Can you hear me? Nothing yet. We're having some technical difficulties. Alvin will get with us in just a second. I can't. Yeah, still can't hear you. Try. Is this on the computer or phone? Nope, I can't hear you. I'm gonna try leaving and coming back. Like leave the studio and then try coming back, or going into the settings and checking in with the audio. But while we waiting on Alvin to get his stuff to get up, he's giving me a call. Yo.
Hey, for some reason I lost your audio when you switched over, bro.
That's what I'm saying. Try leaving the studio and then coming back in.
All right, leave. All right.
Yep.
1 second.
Yep. Well, in the meantime, in between time, Shane, what's going on, man? What questions you got? Kyles, thank you for tuning in. Anything you want to ask? This is impromptu. Let's have some questions that from anybody that's tuned in. I had asked some people on Twitter before, and they were saying ask questions about relationships. I was like, I don't know exactly what you want to know about relationships, but always willing to talk about whatever anybody wants to talk about. So if you got something that you want asked or want to talk about before Alvin gets back on, put it in the chat and we can have a conversation about it. Or you can ask me a question if you got something you want to ask. Alvin.
What's going on, Jamal?
I can hear you now.
We're back. Man, I don't know what happened.
How you doing?
Man, enjoying this storm.
Taking the day off and enjoying it?
I wish. January 1st is when the grassroots season starts for me, so no days off right now.
Oh, well, let's jump into it. Alvin is a basketball connoisseur. He's been around for a while. Go ahead and tell people where you from and what got you involved in the game of basketball.
Oh, man, I'm from Madison. Well, I grew up here in Madison, so I'm from here. What got me involved? There was Riley Gully and Jeff Mack Sr. from the Madison Spartans got me involved back in basketball.
Jeff Mack Sr., okay.
Yeah. They were the coach of the Madison Spartans at the time for that group. So they got me involved. Right now, I'm with Wisconsin Playmakers. I think I'm about maybe 5 years on and off with them now. So 5 years when I was living up north, and I took some time off. Then I've been doing this for the last 5 years again. We've been pretty successful. The program itself actually is based out of Northwest Wisconsin, though.
What city?
Eau Claire.
Oh, okay. Because you say Northwest Wisconsin, it's a bunch of them up there that don't nobody know what the names of them are.
Yeah, you ain't lying about that. So yep, we're based out of Northwest Wisconsin, but you know, we're hoping to get the program rolling between La Crosse and Milwaukee right now.
All right. Well, let's jump into it. Like, all right, my first question is, how cutthroat is the grassroots AAU basketball?
Well, I'll put it like this. I think it gets a bad rap because most of the characters you see involved are Black. So it ain't as cutthroat as people make it out to be. I would say it's like any other business. Guys are trying to grow their business. So if they see somebody who can help their program grow, even if he's playing with somebody else, they will go after that kid. But I look at it this way: if you have a business and you have a law firm and you see a young lawyer who's doing amazing for this other law firm, you're going to offer them, you know, a nice contract to come over to your law firm.
Yeah, you're using the mindset of business. It sucks and it hurts when somebody steals your star pupil, whether it's in business or basketball, but it's something that happens, and I think that the programs and coaches forget that. That was a great point.
Yeah, it's it all depends on the reason why you do it. So usually what happens is, if you're a smaller program, not even smaller, but let's say in Wisconsin we have a Nike team, we have one fully sponsored Under Armour team, and we have one Adidas team. So like with our program, we had a kid who was really good, but he wanted to try Nike. So there's two things. We could be upset about it, we can complain, or we can say, hey, you know, if you want to test yourself on that circuit, you know, go ahead. Because our why isn't, you know, these are our kids, and you want to use those kids, I hate to say it like that, to help build your program.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're really in it for those kids, and you think that you did a good job as a coach, you will allow them, not even allow them, you would give them your blessings. Hey, go ahead and try that. And if it doesn't work, you always have a spot here with us.
Okay. Do you think that is the norm, what you're speaking on?
No, not at all. A lot of coaches feel that these kids owe them. A lot of coaches really feel like I made you, so you stay with me forever.
Ooh. Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I mean, that's just the way it is, and that's just not Wisconsin. That's with any sport, though. You see that in baseball, you see that in hockey. You just hear about it more in basketball. I hate to say it like this because most of your main characters are Black. But it's just as bad in girls volleyball. It's just the same way in soccer, baseball, hockey, same thing.
Yeah. Right? Yeah. Okay. I'm following. I've seen it. I've seen the experience. I've been a part of the circuit, not to that extent or that level, but you can see it here at the small local level where, you know, other coaches hating on other coaches are literally trying to poach another player from another program just because. And I've always wondered why there wasn't more cohesion and working together, because what I get sick of is seeing 4 Dane County teams going to these big tournaments and getting slaughtered. Except if you put the talent of those different 4 teams together, you could go and be competitive in across the country.
So the hard part is everybody wants to be the one to say, I was the one who did it. Everybody wants to be that person, which sucks because we've seen in Milwaukee. You know, we saw with Phenom University, Phenom University was a mixture of a few smaller programs that worked. I mean, he's probably going to take them anyway, but they worked with that program and they helped build that program to where it was to play on Nike, and that's why they were so successful. You know, you had a group of guys who worked together. Now there's another group out in Milwaukee called MXTE, and they have the guys from Real Select, the guys from Wisconsin Shooters, and this program. They used to be JH1. They're all working together, and they're doing a great job.
So you found a group of individuals that put egos to the side for the common good of the program, the kids, and help. The goal is to help them to get to the next level, right?
That is the goal, and that's why I said if a kid wants to leave and say, "Hey, I want to play on Nike or Adidas," you shouldn't want to stop them, because, like you said, their goal is to get on the next level. My goal as a coach is not to be their last coach. Like, I don't want to be the coach that my career ended with him. That means I probably didn't do a good job.
Right. Okay.
You
So
know?
so prior to getting to the circuit, or being all right, here's another thing for me. What is your thoughts behind all this, the training that goes on? I think there's a lot of talented players today and around the area, but I don't feel like there's as much team basketball and maybe team success because of all the individual training. What are your thoughts about that?
It's all about how you train. So individual training is good, but what's really good is to do team training too at the same time. So you'll see guys who will come in, and the coach at Verona does a really good job at this. Cottrell Robinson, my son goes there, and he has.
So no bias, right?
No, none at all.
I'm silly. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Not at all. I mean, don't get me wrong. I wish my son went to Memorial, but he has Nimrod Hilliard come in. He has trainers come in, and they train the whole program.
Okay.
So it's not just work with one kid. Everybody's getting that. They're working together as a team. They're sweating as a team. You know, they're building that chemistry as a unit from freshman all the way to varsity. So I think from this year, if you look at his team this year, they're overachieving. But the reason why is because he's been doing things like that with them.
So with all that being said, there's some things that are like missing that I noticed. Like, kids don't know how to feed the post. Kids don't know how to attack a gap to make the pass to the open shooter in the shooting pocket.
That's funny you say that. So that's something. We have a coach named Aaron Shaw, and he was really big on that with his kid, Makai Shaw, who plays at Southwest Minnesota State. He was so big on hitting a guy in his shot pocket. And the way that we got guys to do that is, hey, if you hit him in that shot pocket, you're more than likely going to get that assist, so your numbers will go up too. And that's how we convince guys to do that. One of the big things that I work on with my guys is feeding the post. The one thing that we don't understand as a basketball culture is that basketball goes in cycles. So right now, you're seeing everybody do everything on the perimeter.
Mm-hmm.
If you slowly start to watch, it's slowly going back into the post.
Where?
In the NBA. They're slowly going back. Slowly. If you look at your stars right now, your three biggest stars are post players who just can happen to do some stuff on the perimeter. But the reason they had to do that, they had to adapt. Sooner or later, we're going to have to adapt back to the post entry again.
All right, so give me those top three players.
You got Jokic, Giannis, Embiid.
Okay.
So you got three guys who should be mainly in the post, but they had to adjust their game to the times. What happens is when Embiid goes into the post, we can't do anything about it because, like you just said, we're not only are we not teaching post offense, but we're not teaching post defense.
And it's changed. The post defense has changed. Like, you can't necessarily touch a player in the post. Remember back in the day, we could give that forearm in the back. And
just
now,
to say that.
Yeah, because you can't do nothing. Do you know how hard it is to guard somebody in the post like this?
Damn near impossible. I remember the first time somebody did that to me is when I was playing with the Madison Spartans, and Tim West did that to me. He was like, "That's AAU defense." I said, "Get your poor arm out of my." So no, you can't. So that's the hard part. And again, it depends where you're playing at. If you're playing on, I'll tell you right now, the last 3 years we've been on Under Armour. They're letting guys get physical.
Mm-hmm.
They're letting guys get do that. I'll see another place where they're doing it more. If you watch some of the girls circuit.
Oh my! Listen, the basketball that I've seen in Minnesota last year, I was like, they're playing rugby, and the refs wasn't calling nothing.
You watch the girls; they let those guys go at it.
Yeah.
So, which is weird because you watch a girls' game and it's overly physical. You watch a boys' game sometimes. If you bump somebody shoulder to shoulder, they're calling that foul. But again, it depends where you're at. It depends on the referees. Also,
yeah,
I think for a lot of these tournaments, I hope no referees are listening. You got to do a better job with the referees. We got to get younger referees because it's a different game. Like I couldn't referee today's game because my mind is still stuck in '99.
Yeah, people have asked me about why I don't ref, and I'm like, I tried it, to volunteer at some youth stuff, but I'm such a fan of the game that I get caught up watching the game, and I've either missed 3 or 4 foul travel calls, and I'm just like, oops, my bad, and blow the whistle, and I'm just too much of a fan of it to be able to watch it with that analytical eye.
It is, and that's why I try my best not to get mad at the refs, because I think the same way you think. Where if I'm reffing a game and and especially if the kid's really getting money, ain't no way I'm blowing the whistle. So, a referee's job is very hard. That's why I think for a lot of AAU tournaments, it's more expensive, but 3 refs would definitely help.
Yeah, and I mean, I even see that in the high school where it's like the JV game has 2 refs and then the varsity has 3.
Yep. And I think that's more of a money thing. But if you watch a 3-man crew and they know how to work together, you almost don't even notice that they're there. And that's the whole job of a referee, is to officiate the game so smooth that we don't notice them.
So, I couldn't let you be on here if I didn't make you have to spice things up a little bit. As a Madison guy, I got to hear who your top 5 Memorial basketball guys are.
I thought Madison in general.
Oh no, that's coming. But I'm gonna let you go Memorial because you're a Memorial guy first.
I'm gonna go. My personal favorite is gonna be Jerron Manning.
Okay.
I mean, and that's a person you could say somebody else, but Jerron Manning was just the best basketball player out of the state of Wisconsin I've ever seen.
Oh, that's a huge declaration.
As a basketball player, I'm not saying the best talent, the best basketball player I've ever seen.
Okay.
Gotta go Wesley. Again, something funny about that. If people call him Wes and not Wesley, that means you didn't know him as a kid. That means all those trainers who say I worked out with him, if they're saying Wes Matthews, they ain't saying Wesley, just simply Wesley, they met him after he got paid. Wesley got to be second. The next 3 are kind of tough because I'm kind of biased here.
At least you're honest about being biased. I'm wondering if 2 names are going to pop up. Go for it.
Are you talking about Rick Redmond and Bill Ellington?
Hell no. I've never seen him. I know Rick. I've heard Rick was a dog, but I've never seen him play.
I've never seen him.
And I ain't never even heard of the other name you just said. Who'd you say? Duke Ellington?
Bill Ellington. He was first team all state. He was there before I got there. He was there way a long time ago. Man. So we got to put Mike on there. Our first Mr. Basketball.
Mike
Nelson.
Mike Nelson. Okay.
Why can't I think of this kid's name right now? Too Tall's son.
Daryl.
Gotta put Daryl on there. For one fact, Daryl had to do 2 years of JV, didn't even start his senior year, player of the year in the conference, first team All-State. Gotta put him on there. Now I can't be no hater. Gotta put Van on there. You gotta put Van on there. Van,
So you didn't touch on two that I was wondering if you was gonna throw out there.
Junior Lamamba,
Nope.
Brandon Ortiz,
Nope.
Devontae Mason,
Nope.
Julian Walters.
Nope. And these are great names that you are saying, and I'm still surprised that you are not. There's two that
Corey
I'm
Vernon.
shocked. Who?
Corey Vernon?
Nope.
Oh, Jerry Shorter
Jerry Shorter is one,
and Octavius.
and Octavius.
You gotta realize, man, they were dope, and those are my cousins. So again, I couldn't be that biased, but you gotta realize, man, we had no D1 schools coming to look at Memorial around that time. They was all going to Madison.
Listen, I'm gonna say this about those two as far as talent goes. Jerry Shorter played at Memorial and on the Memorial basketball team where not more than one black kid was going to be on the court.
Man, you ain't lying. They did not like our black asses at that time.
And Jerry is still to this day, to me, one of the most freak athletes that we've seen in Madison. And Octavius was a scorer, and Tay was on. This is my issue.
Tay had to wait till Jerry graduated to get on the court.
Because they wouldn't let two on the court at the same time. Because I'm like, there's no way that Tay got that much better where he's one of the best players in the entire conference that he couldn't see no court time as a junior.
Man, that the Memorial alumni reminds me of the UW alumni. They don't want more than a certain amount of black kids on that team. Damn, somebody's gonna be mad at me for saying that.
That's all right. We ruffle feathers over here.
But no, at that time, man, that was how it was. I mean, dog, we had a few dudes walking around that school that was about 6'6" from the south side of Madison, and they never played on the team.
Yep.
And a lot of times they didn't try out simply because they just felt
they knew.
Yeah. I mean, it took a while. I mean, it took what, to 2000 to Wesley's year? Pretty much to Wesley's junior year for him.
I was going to say, because it wasn't like that when I was playing. Now, because Wesley didn't even play varsity as a freshman until the tournament.
Yeah, and I think that was good for him. I think
it probably was, but in today's society, there's no way that they're making him wait. There's no way in the world around here right now that they're making a talented kid wait to get to varsity.
I think that hurts. Now,
it definitely hurts because there's a lot of kids that are on varsity that are just sitting there or playing a handful of minutes when they could be on JV getting some good experience.
I saw a kid at some Prairie West freshman team, and when I say that dude was probably better than everybody on their JV team, he was probably better. But I said to myself, he's being allowed to become a leader down here. Like nobody is learn and get better. I was like, when that dude becomes a junior, that's gonna. I'm not lying to you. I'm not over exaggerating. That's gonna be one of the top 5 players in our conference when he's a junior. It's a kid at some Prairie West. I wish I got his name, but he's playing fresh ball.
It sounds like some Prairie West has a pipeline going. Because Chris Davis is scoring at an amazing clip. I don't even know if it's ever been seen before. Right now, in the Big Eight.
Whoa.
I'm new. No, listen. Do you know how much he's averaging?
Man, so if we remove the first half, if we remove November and December from Josh Jackson's senior year, holy smokes!
Listen, I played with Josh, and I know Josh can score, but I don't remember Josh averaging 41.
He had his senior year. They were good. He had Tony and those guys before Tony unfortunately passed. But after that happened, we played them in that regional final. And I remember saying to Steve Collins, we just got to stop this kid from getting 50. He gets 50, we're losing. He got 48. And missed the last second 3 that would have put him at 51. And we would have lost by 1. He makes that shot.
Now, Josh, me and Josh joke all the time because I'm like, Josh was an elite scorer. He was not an elite passer, There was no pass button, that the A button that you pass with on the Xbox. His controller didn't have that. He was gonna pass it to the rim, and but this kid is averaging 41 points.
Yeah.
And he's got a game of having 63. I just saw, or 61. I just saw somebody post on Instagram that he had a casual 42.
It is casual because he's not forcing anything. Nothing looks forced. It looks like it's just like when you watch him play, it's like he's playing in slow motion out there.
And I agree.
Above everybody else.
The work that he's put in is definitely showing.
Easily. He shed some of that. He wasn't never a big kid, but I remember when he was younger, he had a little bit baby fat on him.
Baby fat, yeah. And he grew. He started growing and sprouting out and spreading out or whatever as far as his length goes. So now let's take it a step further. Give me your top 5 Madison from our era. I'll do our era because saying Rick Redmond and Alex Compton, that don't count because I never saw them. I
never saw them either.
So like that, I would say the mid 90s till probably.
I still got Jerron Mayman number 1.
Okay.
I got Reese Gaines number 2. People don't understand. Somebody his size in our area was not supposed to play point guard.
He was one of those first that transitioning of those big guards.
He was not in our area. If you were his size, you had to go into the paint. No matter how good you can shoot or how good you can dribble. So I still go Jerron. I got to go Reese. Again, another big guard. You got to go Lewis Monroe. Still got to go Wesley. Man, I'm going to tell you who was really good. Like, really, really good. Nimrod.
He's still producing. He's still producing.
He is. I mean, when he was in high school, like somebody his size.
He wasn't that tall. He wasn't that athletic, but he just had a different level of like drive and desire to go win a game.
Now, you want to talk about when you said 2 teams who should have worked together. That Madison Spartan team and his Nesby team.
Yep.
If you just put the top 8 from that team, from those 2 teams together, man, that team places, because back then they still had AAU nationals.
Right.
They're a top 5 team in the country. Like that's, and again, remember he was playing up a year. That's how special that dude was. Another guy I don't want to forget, because I hope he's not listening, Trey Kramer. That dude was cold.
Oh, yeah. And Trey was 6'3" and could shoot it.
Yeah.
It was a great – there was some internal turmoil with that team, but they had all the pieces to really – like, and you couldn't see the chinks in the armor until it really, really showed. But that was a super talented team. Collins had a nice run of players.
You want to know what the one of the chinks were? They didn't know how to pass the post. They didn't know how to, like, imagine again, this is still at the time where Trey and Vander are 2 of the bigger guards in the league. They were running the flex offense. They were not utilizing each other in the post.
Man, listen, the simple fact that they was running the flex offense should have never been a thing in the first place.
Man, that dude won a bunch of championships off that flex offense.
I get it, and I was so glad to finally, like, there's a team now that runs the flex offense. It's West, and then the Sun Prairie West girls do, or Sun Prairie East girls do, and I'm like, oh, this is boring. I hate it.
Do they got shooters or do they got big girls? What they do is I feel like they do the old school Bo Ryan, like they just ugly the game up and like make it really boring and slow. And we're in an era of how fast everybody plays. And if I have to make you slow the game down the way Dick Bennett and Tony Bennett have done, you got a chance to win because this is so completely out of their element, the other team's element, that they struggle. Oh man, hold on. Don't get me wrong. I've done that during the summer season a few years ago, where I looked at a team. I was like, oh, we gotta slow this down.
Oh, I mean, a coach understands that and knows that, but also as a coach, you know and understand how to fix your style for the talent you got. Like I
Yeah.
can't go and do Dick Bennett's style with that Memorial team with Vander, Jerron Jr. Like there's
You
no
would have
way
a
in
mut-
the world.
you would have had a mutiny on your hands. No, now what's funny, you say that about Bo Ryan. I had a conversation with him at one of the D1 Minnesota tournaments when he was recruiting Van, and I was living in Eau Claire at this time. Well, was I recruiting? Not yet then. So he was recruiting somebody else then. I'm sorry. And he was saying he wanted better athletes to run that swing offense with, because all the space that you get with it, all those lanes, because it created a bunch of one-on-ones. But because he had such, unathletic dudes there, or he'll have like Devin Harris by himself, or he'll have Orlando Tucker. He'll have two at a time, that they had to play that style of basketball. But he wanted better athletes. Not to say the athletes they had at Wisconsin wasn't good, but for what he wanted to do.
No. They had good players. They didn't have good athletes.
All right,
There's difference.
Good point. But he wanted what that swing offense was about was creating a bunch of one-on-one matchups and driving lanes. He just didn't have the guys to do that, and he couldn't. Like it was very hard to recruit those kind of guys in Madison. I remember Diamond Stone's dad said, and everybody thinks that Diamond Stone didn't come to Wisconsin because of his grades, not realizing that you got to have the same amount of grades to get into Maryland. It's the reason why Maryland's in the Big Ten right now. They're a very high academic school. Diamond Stone's dad was like, there's not very many productive Black people in Madison. I want my son around more of area of the country that has more productive Blacks. That's why he didn't go to Wisconsin. Also, they didn't feel comfortable. I grew up here and I don't feel comfortable.
Oh, talk about it. I think that is a conversation in itself. Being Black in Madison, and you can be here all your life and still not feel comfortable.
I mean, just look at it from the sports wise. When Van decommitted from Wisconsin, all of a sudden they were saying about he was stupid. It was his grades. Well, first of all, if his grades were that horrible, he wouldn't have been allowed to commit to Wisconsin in the first place. Then he ends up at Marquette, which is a private school.
Right, he wouldn't have been able to get into Marquette neither.
Because you can have straight A's and be a minority, and Marquette can still tell you no. So, I mean, just that alone, when it comes to sports, when Memorial first came out with their first starting 5 all-Black lineup,
shocked the world. I was shocked.
And the student section was doing "Oh My Lord, Lord, Lord" from the from Glory, and nobody realized how inappropriate that was.
Oh man, listen, the things that happened could not happen today.
No. But it does. I'm telling you right now, if we did allow that, we would have basketball players with thicker skin.
I definitely agree.
Because right now, if you say something wrong, like the real reason why you see the way that basketball looks, a lot of coaches, they're afraid to coach these kids because they feel they may lose them.
Yeah.
They're afraid to be hard on these kids, to be strict.
But there's a difference between being hard and crossing lines. And I know that there are coaches that are crossing lines. I've heard a bunch of stories, and there's video evidence now that floats around all over social media about these coaches crossing that line.
Yes. Man, it's that's because guys my age still think that the times are the same. Because we feel like, because coaches did that to us, we can do that to these kids.
And truthfully, it wasn't appropriate then. It was just something that it happened, and you was either going to accept it to play, or you weren't going to play.
And the other thing I realized, there wasn't that many places to play, so coaches could get away with it back then.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, when we grew up, it was what? The Spartans and ABC.
Spartans, ABC,
and Wildcats.
Steve Donaldson with the Wildcats, and that ended quickly because he was doing some inappropriate things. That ended quickly, but yeah, that was it. ABC, yeah, that's what it used to be called. People forget about that.
Yeah, and the Spartans and ABC used to have some battles.
Dang, man, am I hating on East? Matt Ender was cold.
Matt Ender was cold. Tyler Ender was cold. But hell, there's one name you didn't even say, and I'm shocked and appalled, and he is too. You didn't say Roy.
He only played up for 2 years.
But those were some memorable 2 years because him and Reese's battles shut the entire city down.
They were, man. You're right. I'm hating.
At least you can admit it.
You're right. Oh man, I remember one time they called a charge. He called a lob on Luke Nelson's head. I think was I a freshman that year? I must have been a freshman that year because he was a junior. Oh, just disgusting. Just disgusting.
And I don't think anybody that, of course, the youth have no clue. One, they don't even know who Reese Gaines is. That's the other part. But they have no clue what that matchup was like.
Man.
Like the way that the East Memorial, when it was Vander, Nimrod, Marquise, like that matchup, that was, I would say, was roughly a comparison of East-West then. But East-West had talent across the board, but you will forget about the talent they had. Like Marquise's brother Leon was a freak athlete.
Good. I remember him too. Wasn't he on that team with Roy?
Yes.
Yeah, I remember that dude.
And then you got Brian Matthews.
He was really good. And
then at West, you still had Tim West. You still had Jeff that was going to beat you up down low as a bruiser and just set screens that hurt.
Man, he enjoyed it. That dude enjoys setting hard screens. I tell you somebody who we forget about because he's not from the Madison area, but him and Reese had a really good rivalry. Aubrey Lewis Byers from Janesville Craig.
For Craig, Aubrey was humongous. Pause. But
that was that went back to middle school when he played with the Janesville YMCA. And for some reason, I don't know why, we just couldn't beat them dudes. Until we got to high school, and this was like Reese's last year playing with the Spartans, and this is when Reese's just came back from playing varsity with West, and he was into himself. I think he just got his first dunk at Penn Park when the rims were still kind of low.
And that's the other thing. Now, Reese was an amazing player, but Reese wasn't a great athlete.
He wasn't.
He was long, but he couldn't jump. He wasn't really a jumper.
He had a great first step. He had a great hesitation dribble. I'm trying to teach my kid.
And his pull up at the elbow, he wasn't gonna miss.
I'm trying to teach that to my kid right now. That really high dribble like this that he always had, that you just couldn't steal.
And you knew where he was going with his dribble. He was going right, and he was going to pull up at the elbow, and there was nothing you could do about it.
He knew how to throw his left shoulder into your sternum, though.
He would have a high dribble, but then get low and then rise up and shoot at the top of his shot.
I mean, but his dad played for the Badgers, so his dad, on anything he wasn't good at, his dad taught him how to make up for it.
And so that's the other thing we need to talk about with these kids that are athletes. You gotta listen.
Yeah.
Like they're so fearful of the constructive criticism to show them like, hey, you're great at X, Y, and Z, but you also need to work on this. Like Wesley was kind of mad at me because I told him I was like, you still don't dribble with your left hand because it was something that everybody knew was a weakness.
Yo, I was saying that to somebody the other day. We were talking about him. I was like, that dude still can't dribble. But I tell you one thing, he was not known as a shooter in high school or college. He was known as a slasher.
Oh, he was a freak athlete.
I was watching him on the 520 podcast, and I remember talking to myself, like, how did this dude learn how to shoot like that? Like, this dude couldn't shoot like this in high school.
So he actually had told me when me and him did the podcast, it was just like one of his vets, like said, if you want to get some minutes,
Yes.
you are literally, I think he said it was Jeff Hornacek. You're
Yes.
going to have to come and shoot. You're going to have to come in before, stay after late, and you're going to have to work on it. He said he knew he was going to get those corner threes, so he just spent so much time shooting corner threes.
Because everybody was sagging off of him.
Yep.
Yep. And he said, it was Jeff Hornacek. That's what he said. I remember, I was like, man, this dude couldn't shoot to save his life in high school. Now this dude just got a max deal because he's a shooter.
And I want to say, like, for his class, he probably at one point would made the most money out of anybody in that draft class because he signed that his second contract way earlier than everybody else because he had that second round pick deal where it was like that year, and then he maxed, like, he ended up getting like a big 4 or 5 year deal to go to Portland, and then got a max after.
He was a free agent. That's how he got it. So no, dude. Speaking of circuit teams, if there would have been a Nike, Adidas, or Under Armour league around that time, his team would have been on it.
Oh, that team with him, Rob, Michael Flowers.
No, yeah, split.
Oh,
remember, Michael, they were older. Him, David Du Bois, Corey.
Oh, was that with Mike Natambi?
He played under them.
Okay.
Josh and Joe left. If they would have stayed, again, they're playing on the circuit. Just those five alone. I can't think of the other guys they had, but they both ended up playing some mid-major Division I basketball. I think Seneca coached that team.
Okay. Well, I do want to say this before we get out of here. We do got to shed light on some of the Wisconsin cats that are really, really, really killing it right now. You think about Jalen Johnson, who I think is he should still be in the running for a most improved player.
Easily.
I just don't know what the time off with the injury did to it, but he's by far killing it. Like, to the point, I think that's why they're looking at shipping out DeJounte Murray. But think about Tyler Hero. I can be the first to say that I was wrong. I did not think he was a one and done guy. I did not think that he was going to top the season he had as a rookie, and he's continued to take off. He's killing it. He's probably the best white American in the NBA. Easily.
At a time that we don't have very many of them.
Exactly. And then Tyrese Halliburton.
Man, he might
killing it.
He's killing. Hey, I'm gonna say a college kid that's killing it, who we don't talk about because we hate it on his father.
Who?
Braylon is actually doing a good job right now.
Who?
Braylon Blue. He's had some nice games. Like, everybody,
I'm happy that he's getting a chance. He got out of here, got the scholarship, and he should take advantage of it.
He's had some nice games. I'm not saying he's blowing up for 30 or 20, but for a freshman, and for how all the everybody messing with him down here, that guy is actually playing all right.
Here's the one that people are talking about it, but it needs to be a little louder. Keontae Jones. Keontae Jones is at CSUN, and he is killing it. From East, he's killing it.
His sister's good.
Kiera's nice. Kiera's cold. Keontae is killing it. Keontae is a pro.
Yeah.
You gotta watch what he does on the defensive end, his tenacity, his length, and he's starting to shoot the three ball and hitting it. I wish he would take a couple more because they kind of still sag off of him, not respecting it. Man, that kid, and he's a playmaker because most people don't know he started off playing as a point guard before transitioning to this wing defender.
Yep. Hey, another kid, the Justice kid. Who saw that coming?
Keyshawn?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I had conversations with Keyshawn. I knew that this was coming. I knew that this was coming.
That kid's in the league. I'm like, let's go. Man, I'm telling you, dog, there's a lot of talent that comes out of that Madison East area.
Hell, you know who else is playing overseas and doing his thing?
Who?
Marlon Ruffin.
I forgot all about him. He had an older brother named JT.
Yep.
Good
it's a lot of Wisconsin talent, and Wisconsin gets overlooked as a state that has a lot of basketball players. And not even just, and you can look outside of Milwaukee. There's tons in Madison. There's tons that have come through the Dane County area. You can go down to Beloit. Beloit has had several. I mean, if you just stop and think about Kyle Weaver.
Man, I should have said him. I was wrong. Oh, you said Madison. You said Madison. Okay, you said Madison.
Hey, well, we'll end it with your top 5 out of the Big 8 then.
Kyle Weaver, number 1. No, he's number 2 behind Jerron. It's still Jerron. He should have won Player of the Year that year over Mike Nelson.
Oh, okay. Hey, I was gone and missed it, but I did play against Kyle my senior year, his freshman year, and everybody was like, "Yo, Kyle is the truth." Like, and I'm thinking he can't be that good if Boy's making me guard him because I'm a player. So, and listen, Kyle told me, he was like, "Yeah, that really wasn't my team," so I kind of like deferred or whatever. So I was like, "All right, I appreciate it." But Rob Bearfield was like, "No, Kyle different. You got to see him." So I went and watched him play in the summer. And he gave the most nonchalant 40-point game I'd ever seen. I was like, wow, like he's not even really trying. It's effortless.
I don't know if you remember that first year at State. I mean, Beloit was good, but it was him that took us to overtime that game and had everybody nervous. Like, it was that dude. So, like, when they gave Mike Nelson Player of the Year, and Mike averaged about 15 points a game, that dude averaged like 32 points a game.
Well, yeah, and that piggybacks off of the same thing you said about the white and black part of Wisconsin in athletics, because there's no way in hell Ben Brush wins Player of the Year over Vander if he doesn't decommit. Or Josh Gosser.
No, it was I know you're talking about the kid who went to Princeton.
Yeah, TJ Bray.
Yes.
There's no way in hell.
So, funny story about that. Henry Ellison from Rice Lake, he waited to make his decision to after they gave the award because of that. I don't know if you remember, him and Diamond Stone shared Player of the Year.
Okay.
He waited to after they gave out the award to make his
make his announcement, because he knew if he didn't commit, they would give it to somebody else.
Yes. That's the reason why he waited so long. He knew he was going to Marquette. Wojo was coming up north and doing trainings up there, for like free trainings for the coaches up there, free coaches clinics.
Wow.
Like giving out coaching clinics.
Hey, you ain't finished with your Big 8, so we can finish this 5. You said Jerron,
Kyle, Wesley, Reese.
Are these in order?
Yeah. No, I mean, I'm just going off of high school. Pro.
Wait, just off of high school, putting Reese 4th
I said
in the Big 8.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wesley was just something, yo. That Wesley Matthews experience was the only thing I've seen close to that was the Davis boy out of lacrosse. When they came and played, they sold their standing room, and what that Madison Memorial team, we had to open up our auditorium so people can watch the game, and they were charging to go sit in the auditorium. Like I first time I've ever seen that before. So
who's number 5?
Oh, hold on, let me think. We got right now I got Roy, but before I say that, I gotta think, man, because there was we forget about Danny Boyle. He's a 4-year varsity player.
Danny Boyle, it was a nice point guard. There's no way in hell he's in this conversation.
We got Danny Boyle. We got dang. You know what? I was trying to think of some white guys.
Don't, because you about to try and put Danny Boyle in the same conversation with Lewis,
I'm trying to think of some
Roy.
There's got to be one that I can't think of. There was one for Janesville Craig? Parker?
Come on, man. Stop playing.
Hold on. We got East, we got West, we got Memorial, we got what's the fourth? La Follette. There got to be somebody from La Follette in there that we forget about.
Listen, you're talking about the 5th spot, and you're putting whoever else that you are trying to come up with in your head, you're still stacking them up against Lewis and Roy Boone.
I'm just saying, like, David was cold. David Du Bois was cold.
Are you out your damn mind? Like, and I think David Du Bois is an elite scorer and a Division I player. Same with Michael, Marcus, JJ, Jonte, and JJ probably was the one that had the biggest post high school career, even though Michael was arguably the best defender in the country.
I gotta go Michael, man, because that flower power movement, that was a huge movement.
So are we going off like the name recognition because of the flower power, or like the talent of what they did in high school?
Yo, man, Mike got them dudes a championship. I gotta go with Mike.
Mike got them a championship? It was 3 of them on that team at that time. It was Michael, Jonte, and Jason.
I'm gonna go with Mike. But Mike got the dunk. Mike was doing it. Mike said, "Yo, the Kohl Center is mine,"
and he came. I mean, you know what? I can give you that because he also then was the only one to come to UW.
Damn. Hold on, man. I gotta stop my West Side bias though. My 6th man still gotta be Nimrod.
Okay. And this is yours. Like I knew you was tripping once you said Danny Boyle, so I wanted to help you to get back together.
Man, I was mad. You know how hard it was. You know how hard it is right now to think of some cold white dudes.
Oh, it was a lot.
Danny Boyle's the first one that came in my head. Tone Boyle.
Tone Boyle was cold too, but I mean Danny was better than Tone. But no, I completely get it. But
Matt Brush.
I don't remember him.
He went to West. He said, I don't remember. Yo, West had a cold white dude not too long ago. Michael Horton.
And hold on, like you got when you say cold, you can't, like I like Michael and James Horton, but we're talking about like you're fighting for a position and you didn't even consider Vander in the top 6, or Lewis or Roy, and you talking about Danny Boyle and Michael Horton
over Devin Byron-Brock, whoever his name was from Janesville.
No, you said the top 6, and you had the audacity to throw them names out.
Ain't no dude from Parker.
I don't give a shit if Misty Bass. Yes, like I don't care what you. We're being honest there, but out of the top 6 in the Big 8 that we have been around to witness, you said Danny Boyle.
I'm trying to throw a white guy in there.
For what? If they ain't the top 6 talent.
the coach at Sun Prairie right now.
Okay, so Booz was cold, Nescoviak was cold, Nick Fuller was cold, but they are not a top 6 player in the Big 8.
I'm hating, man. I'm still hating. Chris Davis too, man. We got a Chris Davis Sr. We forget that he had a flamethrower. Like
I missed him playing in high school, but I heard that he was the real deal too.
If you remove
and Jerome Haywood.
Yeah, damn, there's so many good ones, bro.
And you still trying to find the white guy?
The big white boy on 18. He was. I can't think of
Jeff
his name.
Hull?
Nah, him.
Well, Jeff played with Marquise.
There was a big white guy on 18 that upset Wesley, and he dunked on his butt.
That might cancel him out then. Paul Norland.
Nah, I can't put them in there.
You can't put Paul Norland in there if you trying to put Nick Fuller.
I can't put Paul. Paul. I mean, Nick played at Nebraska.
Paul would have played at Creighton, but he preferred to do something different.
Nah, he couldn't play at no Creighton.
Listen, I'm telling you, he could have. Quincy Henderson went and played at Creighton. I'm telling you, Paul could have.
Quincy better than Paul. Quincy played defense.
Quincy was a freak athlete too.
It's man, we gotta do this again because it's some names that I have.
Hey, you got to get a couple of people together that we can have this basketball conversation with, and we can definitely do another one. But I want to respect everybody's time. We still got a couple people that have logged on.
So I'm sorry.
You about to say something stupid?
Nah, I'm sorry. I mean,
I thought you was about to say another name.
Nah. I mean, if we're being honest, you got the Roy in there. If we're being honest,
I think so. I mean, And I feel bad for the kids that got cheated out of seeing him before he blew his Achilles.
Oh yeah. People don't realize that run that Wisconsin made don't happen if he ain't there.
Hey, Parnell trying to start something.
Top 5 Big 8 coaches. We gotta go with Collins. It's him right now of all time.
In order though, Parnell, is this for all time or as of today? Come on, man. All time. All right, there we go.
See, Parnell's my son's coach, so I really rock him. I like what he's doing with my kid.
Oh, see, here you go. He's trying to get his son some more playing time.
No, I sound like
I'm being silly. Go ahead. Let's hear it.
My kid, he screams at him for the right reasons. Like, he ain't screaming just to scream. He's screaming because these are things that I've seen too. That, like, he's got my kid to learn how to start the fast break instead of trying to dribble it.
I got it even better. I'm gonna add on to what he said. Top 5 Big 8 coaches, but this is male and female.
Dang, I love Angie Murphy. So I got Bill Murphy in there because
she ain't coaching no more. Oh no, he said all time. No, he said all time. Go ahead.
Because she was rocking people. Collins, the girls' coach at Middleton, because he was rocking people.
You don't even know his name, so you ain't.
I don't know his name, but he was rocking people.
So you said Angie Murphy, Steve Collins, a random Middleton coach that don't nobody know the name of.
I can't think of his name, but you know his girls is good.
Coach Kind.
Yeah. Derek Kind? Maybe it's his father.
Or maybe it's assistant. I don't know. But okay, you got the 3.
In the area. So hold on. Man. Nope. I not to be a hater, but I can't say them West coaches or them East coaches because they got talent. They don't be doing nothing with it. Oh, I'm just saying, dog. They got so much talent over there. Like, a lot of them kids should, if not playing D1, they should be in the WEAC killing. Who else we got? What schools we got? We got yeah. The Nelson dude that will follow it.
Okay.
I gotta stop over all this West Side bias. The Nelson dude that will follow it. And that dude at Craig. The dude that he retired a while. Suter, was that his name? That might be the hockey coach. But the dude at Craig.
He said if you gonna say all West and East coaches had talent, Collins had talent too. That is very true. Collins had the most talent.
They got the state though.
Collins had the most talent.
Yo,
listen. I like Collins, but if you got 7 Division I athletes, you should be making it to state, right?
They got the state. They got there.
I'm saying. So you're saying that he didn't do anything special. He did what he was supposed to.
He let his coaches coach.
He let his coaches coach. Who was coaching?
He was coaching, but he let his assistant coaches assist him.
Okay.
See, he may not be from. He said, Craig, really? The Craig coach back in the 90s? That dude was a terror. Back in the 90s, early 2000s, that Craig coach? Yo, that dude was no joke. He had them Craig teams overperforming every year. But hold on, back to Collins though. That dude had a 13-year run of just terrorizing this conference.
Now listen, some of the gifts and the blessings that Collins got was because of West. Them kids stopped wanting to go to West high school anymore.
Well, it wasn't even that.
Because a lot of Memorial's talent were Southside kids that normally would have went to West.
Not really.
Name them.
It started with Wesley. His group is what started it.
And where was Jerron supposed to go?
Middleton. But that's what started it, was Middleton, when they didn't really care about his older brother Devontae. So Devontae ended up at Memorial. So if he's at Memorial, you already know who's coming. So now that he at Memorial, that's going to bring Russell. That's going to bring Xavier. That's going to bring.
And now I will say that there are becoming little cohorts of groups that have played together that are changing the dynamic, because there was that cohort of kids that went from Spartans and Wright Middle School to La Follette.
Yeah. Was that
That was Troy Reeves and them.
There you go. He's coaching there now. Yeah, he does a good job.
Yep.
Coach Parnell just beat down on him though, but he does a good job.
And then you think about that's that group of kids that played together with Nesby that went to East, and how they all, when they stayed together, you see how them teams take off. But we grew up on the South Side where everybody was ego driven. We went everywhere.
Which I think that hurt West, because everybody should have went to West High School, but their enrollment was already so high.
But think about just if the Southside Raiders kids all stayed together, there would be nobody. They'd be mad in Madison, Wisconsin high school football.
I'll put it to you like this: what's about to hurt West in a few years? Verona's building a new high school in Fitchburg, and a lot of that Fitchburg talent is going to be at that school.
Well, Verona better make sure that their minority students feel welcomed.
That's Memorial. That's most of these schools. Kids feel that way.
Yeah, and until that gets changed, you're gonna have that carousel that we've always had.
Well, at the same time, you gotta also say this, because I'm in Verona.
I'm in Verona. So you biased. Parnell says, so we only got 3 good coaches of all time for boys and girls.
Dang, I'm gonna sound like a hater if I say what I really want to say.
Then go ahead, hater.
I mean, it's a reason why Collins was able to control this conference the way that he controlled it. He felt every year, that man felt confident. He was like, I'm about to coach everybody.
Listen, I literally think Collins became a great coach. I think at one point it was just the talent was running amok, and that was overshadowing. And then when the talent started to fade, he really started coaching like when Chris Knight was there, when Joe Ferguson was there, when Sharif was there. Like, I think that like it started to shift, and the coaching really started to shine, because at first I was like, he just got talent. I was like, you could roll the ball out with them 8 kids and they was gonna win anyways.
Man, Jamal, you don't understand. Like, we had so much tape on everybody. Like, if we weren't playing and you were, we were going to get tape on you. Like, as his coaching staff, like, he had us like, hey, I need you to go film this game at Arrowhead. I need you to go film this game at Homestead. I need you to go to Milwaukee and film this game. Like, we had tape on everybody. Like, not this thing that they use now, which is good for kids to make highlights. But as a coach, if you get out there and you can see what you're going to face, that's what made him different. He was out scouting all the time. You would see this dude with a fisherman hat and glasses on, not realize it was him, and he's sitting there scouting you.
Hey, shout out to his son. Drew looked just like him. It was scary. I played with him at the Princeton Club, and I was like, oh my God, you are Collins' son. All he could do was start laughing.
Also, he didn't start his son his senior year, so you know he ain't playing favorites.
Oh man, that should cause problems in the house. I'm just kidding. But I gotta get off of here because we'll stay on this thing talking forever. But yeah, think about 2 or 3 other guys to get on and talk sports. That's gonna actually talk the real game and not just the BS.
All right, we got Parnell Hughes. We got one.
All right,
man.
Well, I appreciate it, and I appreciate everybody tapping in and listening. Y'all enjoy the rest of this snowstorm.
All right, my man. Good to see you.
Holla. Appreciate you.